Admiral Crix of the Centaurian Empire stood before the massive holographic display, his three primary tentacles twitching with barely contained anxiety. The image before him showed what had to be the most terrifying defensive system he'd ever encountered in his 3 centuries of military service. The fact that it appeared to be made entirely of primitive satellites, defunct rocket stages, and what the humans called fast food wrappers made it all the more horrifying. "Play it again," he commanded, his voice whistling through his respiratory sphincters in a way that made Captain Nix wince and add another note to her already extensive list of concerning behaviors exhibited by the Admiral. The hologram flickered, showing for the 7th time how the Centaurian Empire's most advanced probe had approached the human solar system. The probe, representing the pinnacle of stealth technology, had been completely undetectable by any known means. Yet somehow, at the precise moment it crossed the orbital path of the 3rd planet, a piece of what appeared to be a 20-year-old communications satellite had changed its trajectory by exactly 0.0173 degrees, setting off a chain reaction of floating debris that culminated in the probe being batted out of the solar system like a cosmic ping-pong ball. "You see it, don't you, Captain?" Crix gestured with his secondary tentacles, leaving smudges on the holoscreen that made Nix add another note to her list. The sheer calculating precision of it all, the mastery of orbital mechanics, the audacity to disguise it as random space junk. "Sir," Nix began, her external plates shifting in the Centaurian equivalent of a diplomatic cough, "are we certain this wasn't just an accidental collision with actual space debris?" Admiral Crix turned all 7 of his eyes toward her, each one dilating with what she recognized as the beginning of another conspiracy theory. "Captain, in all my years of military service, I have never encountered a species so brilliantly deceptive as these humans. Do you know what they call this debris field?" "I believe they call it a navigation hazard, sir." No, Crix's tentacles flailed dramatically. "They call it low Earth orbit, LEO, clearly an acronym for lethal elimination operations. They're not even trying to hide it." At that moment, the ship's AI interface chimed in with its daily report on human broadcasts. "Admiral, I have detected what appears to be a new form of human military propaganda. They call it Netflix." Crix's epidermis shifted to a deep purple of satisfaction. "You see, Captain? While we've been watching them, they've been studying us, testing us, playing us like that stringed instrument they call a banjo." Through the observation window, Earth spun peacefully below, its inhabitants completely unaware that their tendency to litter in space had just convinced the galaxy's largest military force that they were tactical geniuses of the highest order. Meanwhile, at Mission Control in Houston, Deputy Director Sarah Williams was dealing with her own crisis. "What do you mean we lost another weather satellite to space junk? That's the 3rd one this month. Someone get Dave Thompson from Orbital Debris Management on the line. And someone please tell him to stop putting Space Janitor on his business cards." Little did Sarah know that Dave Thompson would soon become humanity's first diplomatic representative to the Galactic Council. After all, anyone capable of maintaining such a sophisticated orbital defense system clearly deserved a seat at the table. Admiral Crix made a final note in his report. "Humans, masters of deception. Their apparent chaos masks precision beyond our comprehension. Most terrifying of all, they appear to have weaponized incompetence itself." Captain Nix added one final entry to her list. "Admiral believes humans have weaponized incompetence. Technically, not wrong." The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council hadn't seen this much activity since the Great Space Llama incident of 3157. Representatives from 17 advanced civilizations huddled around the central holotable, their various appendages, tentacles, and sensory organs all focused on Admiral Crix's presentation. "And here," Crix announced, gesturing to a holographic display of Times Square, "you can see their military propaganda in its most concentrated form. The humans broadcast their capabilities continuously, disguised as something they call advertisements. Ambassador Plex, a being composed primarily of crystalline structures and exasperation, chimed in. "Admiral, I believe that's just a commercial for something called Tide Pods." "Exactly," Cricks's tentacles whipped around excitedly, accidentally unplugging 3 different holographic projectors. A chemical weapon so advanced they can market it openly. According to our intelligence, these pods contain concentrated cleaning agents that would dissolve 3 of the species in this room, yet humans casually store them in their dwellings. Captain Nix, dutiful as ever, added another note to her list. Admiral continues to confuse household products with WMDs. Recommend mandatory vacation. But the most disturbing evidence, Cricks continued, either ignoring or not noticing the collective eye-rolling of various species, comes from their entertainment broadcasts. Observe this technological demonstration they call Star Trek. The holographic display showed Captain Kirk dramatically fighting a man in a lizard costume. Their combat simulations are incredibly detailed, Cricks whispered reverently. They've studied the weaknesses of every conceivable alien physiology, even species they haven't met yet. Ambassador Plex tried again. Admiral, I must point out that humans have only recently established their first Mars colony. They celebrated by sending something called a Tesla to space while playing David Bowie songs. A psychological warfare test, Cricks declared. They're gauging our reaction to their apparent technological regression, and this David Bowie, clearly a military code name, ground control to Major Tom, obviously a command and control protocol. The Council erupted into chaotic discussion. The Rigelians were convinced the Mars colony was a forward operating base. The Betelgeusians couldn't understand how humans survived drinking ethanol and called it fun. The Proxima Centaurians were still trying to decode the hidden meaning in something called cat videos. Only Ambassador Plex maintained any semblance of rationality. Perhaps, she suggested, her crystalline form pulsing with forced calm, we should establish direct diplomatic contact before jumping to conclusions. An excellent idea, Cricks exclaimed. We'll arrange a diplomatic meeting. Under heavy guard, of course. Captain Nix, please note that the humans are so cunning they even managed to convince Ambassador Plex to suggest exactly what they would want. Nix's notepad now read, Day 47. Admiral believes humans are masterminding their own containment through reverse psychology, starting to wonder if he's been watching too many Earth spy movies. Meanwhile, back on Earth, humanity remained blissfully unaware of the galactic panic they were causing. Dave Thompson was particularly busy that day, preparing for his new role as Earth's first extraterrestrial diplomat. His preparation mainly consisted of buying a new tie and memorizing what he considered to be his best dad jokes. Hey, he practiced in front of his bathroom mirror, why don't aliens like reading time? Because they always need space. In the Grand Chamber, the Council's newly installed AI translator, Carl, Comprehensive Alien Response Liaison, picked up this transmission and immediately set off several security alerts. Warning, Carl announced. Human diplomatic representative is already preparing temporal spatial manipulation protocols disguised as primitive humor patterns. Ambassador Plex's crystalline form dimmed slightly as she realized she was the only sane being left in the galaxy. She made a mental note to request a transfer to the Department of Space-Llama Relations. At least the Llama's motivations were straightforward, even if they did occasionally try to eat spacecraft. As the Council session devolved into panic over humanity's supposed master plan, Captain Nix made her final note of the day. Recommend immediate installation of Human Entertainment Center in Admiral's quarters. If he's going to obsess over Earth media, he might as well watch their actual shows instead of military training videos. P.S. Still can't believe he thinks Friends is a documentary about urban warfare tactics. The first official diplomatic meeting between humanity and the Galactic Council was held in the neutral zone, aboard a space station specifically designed to accommodate multiple species. The human delegation consisted of exactly one person, Dave Thompson, who was running late because he'd spent 20 minutes trying to tie his new tie. Admiral Cricks had insisted on implementing 17 different layers of security screening, including a device that could detect thoughts about cheese. Nobody quite understood why, but nobody dared question it either. Dave Thompson arrived at the meeting carrying two things, a briefcase full of Earth's cultural exchange materials and a large cup of coffee from the station's newly installed Starbucks in Space franchise. This was already causing concern among the alien observers. "The human approaches with an unknown chemical substance," Carl announced. "Analysis suggests it contains a psychoactive stimulant that would be lethal to 80% of known sentient species." "Yet they drink it casually," Crix whispered to Captain Nix, "probably to maintain their heightened state of strategic awareness." Nix's notepad gained another entry. Day 73. Admiral now believes humans have evolved to metabolize poison for tactical advantage. To be fair, have you seen what they put on pizza? Dave entered the conference room, immediately tripping over his own feet. His coffee went airborne in what appeared to be slow motion to the horrified alien delegation. The cup performed 3 perfect rotations before landing directly on the stack of ancient, irreplaceable diplomatic treaties that had been laid out for the signing ceremony. The room erupted into chaos. "Chemical attack!" screamed the Rigelian ambassador, all 6 of their arms raising in surrender. "Negative," Carl interjected. "The substance appears to be coffee with pumpkin spice flavoring." "Even worse," Crix declared. "They've weaponized seasonal beverages." Ambassador Plex, maintaining her composure despite the growing absurdity, watched as Dave frantically tried to clean up the mess with his new tie. "Oh geez, oh man, I'm so sorry," Dave stammered, making everything exponentially worse as he spread the coffee stain across centuries of galactic jurisprudence. "I knew I should have gotten the cold brew instead. Hey, at least this gives new meaning to the term coffee table book, right? Carl's translation matrix briefly overloaded trying to process the dad joke, causing all the station's lights to flicker. "Observe!" Crix shouted, his tentacles pointing accusingly. "Their diplomat has managed to destroy our most sacred documents, disable our lighting systems, and deploy a linguistic weapon, all while appearing to be completely incompetent. The strategic brilliance is unmatched." Dave, still dabbing helplessly at the treaties with his now ruined tie, looked up. "You know, if you turn the treaty sideways, the coffee stain kind of looks like a rabbit. Or maybe a duck, depending on how you squint." Carl translated this as, "The human suggests implementing quantum superposition principles to transform battlefield casualties into both prey and waterfowl simultaneously." Captain Nix's notepad gained several entries in quick succession. "Human diplomat has mastered the art of weaponized clumsiness. Carl may need recalibration. Admiral now insists coffee is a WMD. Treaties actually do look like rabbit-duck hybrid when turned sideways." Ambassador Plex, watching Dave somehow manage to knock over a spill-proof waste receptacle while trying to clean up his initial mess, finally spoke. "Perhaps we should take a brief recess." "An excellent suggestion," Dave brightened. "I could use another coffee anyway. Anyone want me to grab them something? They have this great seasonal drink called a peppermint mocha." The room emptied so quickly it created a small vacuum. In the observation room, Crix paced frantically. "Don't you see? He's forcing us to reconvene by making the current situation untenable. The humans have mastered the art of diplomatic chaos theory." Meanwhile, Dave had finally given up on cleaning and was sitting alone in the conference room, looking dejectedly at his stained tie. "I knew I should have worn the clip-on," he muttered, then brightened slightly. "Hey, Carl, want to hear a joke about coffee?" "Processing query," Carl responded. "Warning. Previous joke resulted in station-wide power fluctuation. Proceed with caution." "Never mind," Dave sighed. "It might be too grounds-breaking." 3 backup generators immediately failed, and Captain Nix added one final note to her day's observations. "Note to self, recommend replacing all station beverages with water. Plain, room-temperature water. Actually, maybe just ban liquids entirely, and ties. Definitely ban ties." In the weeks following the coffee incident, the Galactic Council's response to humanity could best be described as enthusiastically paranoid. Every species began implementing their own unique defensive measures against Earth's perceived threats. The Rigelians surrounded their entire star system with what they called an anti-dad joke shield, which was really just a very expensive array of satellites programmed to groan automatically at any incoming transmissions. The Betelgeusians developed a new military doctrine based entirely on their analysis of human reality television, convinced that the key to defeating humans was to vote them off their own planet. Admiral Crix naturally took things several steps further. He had the entire Centaurian fleet reorganized to defend against what he called the Earth Gambit. You see, he explained to an increasingly concerned Captain Nix, the humans pretend to be harmless while secretly being prepared for everything. Therefore, we must pretend to be prepared for everything while secretly being harmless. Nix's notepad gained another entry. Day 112. Admiral has started wearing his uniform backwards to counter human psychological warfare. Claims it's so they won't know which way he's facing. He's a spherical being. Ambassador Plex attempted to inject reason into the situation. Perhaps we're overanalyzing this. The humans appear to be genuinely friendly, if somewhat chaotic. That's exactly what they want us to think, Crix declared. Carl, show us the latest human transmissions. Carl, whose translation matrices were still recovering from exposure to Dave Thompson's puns, displayed a random sampling of Earth television. This human entertainment program appears to show their young engaging in systematic training exercises, Carl announced, displaying an episode of SpongeBob SquarePants. They disguise their combat simulations as a restaurant workplace environment. Fascinating, Crix whispered, his tentacles curling in appreciation. They're teaching their youth to weaponize food service. It's a cartoon, Plex sighed, about a talking sponge. A tactical sponge, Crix corrected. Captain, make a note. Humans have developed sentient cleaning implements. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dave Thompson was preparing for his second diplomatic meeting by taking a crash course in alien cultural sensitivity. Unfortunately, his instructor was his teenage daughter's TikTok feed. According to this video, Dave muttered, practicing in front of his mirror, the proper way to greet a Centaurian is to dab while saying yeet. That doesn't sound right, but I don't know enough about aliens to dispute it. When Carl intercepted this transmission, it triggered another cascade of diplomatic incidents. Alert, human diplomat practicing ancient victory dance. Alert, unknown battlefield command yeet detected. Alert, possible temporal anomaly as human references both dabbing and TikTok in same timeline. Ambassador Plex, reviewing these alerts, began seriously considering early retirement. Her crystalline form had developed stress fractures from constant face-palming. The situation reached a new level of absurdity when humanity, completely unaware of the galactic panic they were causing, decided to be extra friendly. They began broadcasting welcome messages to their alien neighbors. Unfortunately, they let the internet decide the content. Carl, Crix demanded, analyze this transmission. Carl displayed the message, all your base are belong to us. By the cosmic llamas, Crix gasped. They're not even trying to hide their intentions anymore. Sir, Nix interjected, I believe that's just an old human meme. A mimetic weapon. Crix's tentacles tied themselves in knots. Quick, deploy the counter memes. The Centaurian Empire's response was to broadcast every episode of their species equivalent of cat videos, featuring their most classified military secrets accidentally caught in the background. Captain Nix's final note of the day read, Admiral has officially classified human Rick Astley as a psychological warfare expert, beginning to think we should have sent the space llamas to make first contact instead. At least they're honest about their intentions to eat everything. Through it all, Carl continued to struggle with translations. Human phrase, it's raining cats and dogs. Carl's translation, Earth's gravity has malfunctioned, causing random mammal precipitation. Diplomatic response, 3 species began developing anti-pet umbrella technology. Human phrase, break a leg. Carl's translation, ritual pre-battle bone-breaking ceremony recommended. Diplomatic response, 4 more species added calcium supplements to their planetary defense systems. The only one who seemed to be enjoying any of this was Dave Thompson, who remained blissfully unaware that his dad jokes were being classified as Class 5 linguistic hazards across 17 star systems. Hey, he practiced for his next meeting, what do you call an alien with 3 eyes? An alien? Somewhere in the galaxy, a defense system exploded. It was the greatest assembly of galactic military might ever gathered in one place, and it was all because Dave Thompson had decided to bring pizza to the next diplomatic meeting. "Sir," Captain Nix reported to Admiral Crix, "the human is approaching the station with what appears to be multiple flat, circular objects containing... Are these readings correct? Pineapple?" "Diabolical," Crix whispered. "They've combined their biological and chemical warfare capabilities into a single delivery system. And they've shaped it like a UFO to mock us." The station's security AI was having a meltdown trying to classify the threat level of pepperoni. Carl wasn't doing much better. Carl's pizza analysis report. Circular shape suggests possible hyperdrive technology. Contains minimum of 3 known biological warfare agents: anchovies, olives, mushrooms. Temperature suggests fusion-based power source. Warning, detected something called stuffed crust, possible dimensional breach technology. Ambassador Plex, who had actually taken the time to study human culture, tried to intervene. "It's just food. They eat it, that's all." "That's impossible," declared the Rigelian ambassador. "Our scans show the substance they call mozzarella would be lethal to 60% of known species." "Yet they put it on everything," Crix added ominously. "Even their stuffed crust is stuffed with more cheese. Cheese within cheese. The tactical implications are staggering." Dave Thompson, meanwhile, was having his own crisis. "What do you mean I can't bring outside food into the station? I got extra cheese and everything. Hey, why's everyone backing away? Come on, what's the worst that could happen?" Carl helpfully translated this last phrase as, "Human diplomat issues cryptic warning about imminent catastrophic events." 3 different species immediately raised their planetary defense shields. Captain Nix's notepad was filling up faster than ever. "Admiral now believes cheese is a superweapon. Pizza classified as WMD by 7 species. Need to requisition more notepads. Still can't believe humans eat that willingly." The situation deteriorated further when Dave, trying to lighten the mood, decided to tell his favorite pizza joke. "Hey, what did the pizza say when it was late to the party? 'Sorry, I got tied up in traffic.' Because, you know, string cheese? Get it." Carl's translation matrix experienced what could only be described as a nervous breakdown. Alert, human diplomat references, temporal manipulation, late to party. Bondage scenarios, tied up. Traffic patterns, possible military movements, weaponized dairy products, string cheese. The resulting diplomatic chaos was immediate and spectacular. The Betelgeusians began researching string theory as a defense against cheese-based weapons. The Rigelians deployed their entire fleet to protect their solar system's dairy-free zone. 3 different species filed formal complaints about humans weaponizing wordplay. Ambassador Plex's crystalline form was developing actual cracks from stress. "Perhaps," she suggested desperately, "we should all take a moment to—" "Silence," Crix interrupted. "Can't you see? This is exactly what they planned. First they disarm us with their apparent incompetence. Then they deploy their dairy-based doomsday devices. Finally they finish us off with linguistic warfare disguised as primitive humor." Dave, still holding his rapidly cooling pizzas, looked confused. "You know, where I come from, breaking bread together is a sign of friendship, though technically we'd be breaking cheese. Hey, that reminds me of another joke." Carl immediately initiated emergency shutdown procedures. The station's warning systems blared. "Critical alert. Human diplomat preparing to deploy additional humor-based armaments." Captain Nix made what she hoped would be her final note of the day. "Diplomatic situation has officially reached peak absurdity. Recommend immediate pizza break. At least if we're going to panic about human behavior, we might as well try their food while doing it." She paused, then added, "P.S. If anyone tells Admiral Crix about something humans call hot dogs, we might actually start a war." Unfortunately, Dave had brought hot dogs too. He thought they might want options. The galaxy would never be the same. The breaking point ironically came from a broken pizza box. As Dave Thompson struggled with the stuck lid of his last remaining pizza, Admiral Crix was in the middle of a presentation about the tactical implications of Hawaiian-style toppings, when the box suddenly burst open, sending a perfectly circular deep-dish pizza spinning through the station's reduced gravity. Time seemed to slow as the pizza rotated majestically through the air, trailing strings of cheese like some kind of dairy-based cosmic event. It was at this precise moment that something extraordinary happened. Ambassador Plex laughed. The sound, something like wind chimes in a crystal shop, stopped everyone in their tracks. Even Carl paused mid-panic alert. "Don't you all see how ridiculous this has become?" Plex asked, watching the pizza complete another graceful rotation. "We've spent months convincing ourselves that humans are tactical geniuses playing some elaborate game of galactic chess when the reality is right in front of us. They're just humans." Dave, still reaching helplessly for his floating pizza, nodded. "Yeah, what she said. Though I gotta say, this would make a great advertisement for anti-gravity pizza delivery. One small step for man, one giant leap for pepperoni." For the first time since this whole situation began, Carl translated this exactly as spoken, without adding any warnings about weaponized food service initiatives. Captain Nix, whose notepad was nearly full, watched as Admiral Crix's tentacles slowly unknotted themselves. "Sir," she ventured, "perhaps Ambassador Plex has a point." Crix was quiet for a long moment, watching the pizza complete yet another rotation. Finally he spoke. "Are you telling me that everything, the orbital debris defense system, the coffee incident, the dad jokes, was all just accidents and coincidences? And pop culture," Dave added helpfully. "Don't forget memes. Speaking of which, this pizza situation is totally going viral once I post it. Space pizza hash, that cheesy hash, alien lunch." The Rigelian ambassador, who had been studying human internet culture, suddenly burst out laughing. "You mean we've been analyzing cat videos for military intelligence, when they're literally just videos of cats?" "To be fair," Dave offered, finally catching his pizza, "cats probably are plotting world domination. We just think it's cute." One by one, the pieces fell into place. The careful diplomatic masks fell away, replaced by something far more valuable: genuine understanding. And more importantly, genuine laughter. Carl's final translation of the day was simply, "Humans are weird. This is not a warning." In the end, the galaxy had to admit that humans weren't master strategists hiding behind a facade of chaos. They were chaos hiding behind a facade of strategy. Somehow that was both more and less terrifying than anyone had imagined. The official report of First Contact was amended to read, "Humanity's greatest weapon is not their technology, their military might, or even their weaponized dad jokes. It's their ability to be completely, utterly and genuinely themselves, even in the face of galactic civilization. Also, they put pineapple on pizza, which should have been our first clue that they're insane." Captain Nix's final notepad entry read, "Day 180. Humans officially classified as harmlessly dangerous. Admiral Crix has taken up pizza making as a hobby. Ambassador Plex is teaching a course on human meme culture. The galaxy may never make sense again, but at least the food's good." Dave Thompson was officially appointed as Earth's permanent ambassador to the Galactic Council, primarily because no other species could tell if he was being brilliant or ridiculous, and they'd grown oddly comfortable with that uncertainty. And somewhere in deep space, a piece of human space debris continued its eternal orbit, having accidentally created the greatest defensive misconception in galactic history. As for Carl, the AI finally gave up trying to translate human idioms, and instead started a successful business selling Earth pizza to alien civilizations. The menu included a new special called The First Contact, a zero-gravity deep dish with extra cheese guaranteed to break down diplomatic barriers or your money back. The galaxy would never be the same, but maybe that was the point. After all, as Dave liked to say, life is like pizza. Even when it's weird, it's still pretty good. Carl didn't even try to translate that one. Some things are better left as they are.